Hello children, in this video you're going to see about the second unit of your biology subject. So in this video we are going to detailedly discuss about what is plant kingdom and what are the organisms that are coming under the plant kingdom. So in the last unit, do you remember the systems of classification? In those systems of classification, we saw about different classification types. So the two kingdom classification, three kingdom classification, four and five kingdom classification. In five kingdom classification, what were the five kingdoms that were included? They are Monera, Protista, fungi, plants and animals. So plant is one kingdom. About that plant kingdom only you're going to see in this lesson in detail. All the plants in the earth will come under this kingdom Plantae. So all the multicellular green plants and some advanced form of algae will be included under this kingdom. This group consists of multicellular eukaryotic organisms. So multicellular eukaryotic means many celled organism with well developed cell organelles are eukaryotic organisms. So such organisms are only present in the plant kingdom. And here are a list of the features of the plant kingdom. What are the nature of those plants? So all these things we are going to see today. These organisms are autotrophs. So all the organisms present in the plant kingdom are autotrophs. So what are autotrophs means? These autotrophs, they produce their own food in the presence of sunlight, water and carbon dioxide with the help of chlorophyll by photosynthesis. So all the organisms that undergo photosynthesis are included under the plant kingdom. So all the plants only will undergo photosynthesis. So such plants are coming under the plant kingdom. Next point, cells have large central vacuole. So in the cell biology itself, you would have learned that the plant cell will have large vacuole and cell wall. Likewise, here also the cell will have a very large vacuole and very rigid, very strong cell wall which is composed of cellulose. And the mode of nutrition is autotrophic. That means they produce their own food. Then after getting the nutrition, the reserve material, the nutrition will be preserved or stored as starch and fat. So the storing of the nutrients is called as reserve food material, will be starch and fat. And the plants are mostly non-motile. Non-motile means they cannot move. Being anchored to the substratum. They are being attached to some substratum means some fixation is there. So the soil is only the substratum now. So it gets nutrients from the substratum and it is fixed to the soil. So they cannot move. These plants cannot move. They are fixed to this substratum. A few forms are free floating in fresh and sea water. But some plants are there which will grow in fresh water and sea water. All the aquatic plants, about them here they have mentioned. Now, I am going to explain about the autotrophic nutrition that undergoes in all plants in detail. So, autotrophic nutrition means it is the process by which organism produce its own food. So, they produce their own food. And plants take the inorganic substances like carbon dioxide and water and they convert it into organic food compound like glucose. So this is the main process of photosynthesis. So that's why they are called as autotrophs or autotrophic nutrition. And sun helps in this process. Now we are going to see the different classification of kingdom Plantae. So under kingdom Plantae itself, there are many divisions of plants. So all these things we are going to see in the next slides. Here are a list of the divisions how the kingdom Plantae is being classified. So the plant kingdom is classified as Thalophyta, Bryophyta, Pteridophyta, Gymnosperms and Angiosperms. So these are the 5 divisions of kingdom Plantae. Now we are going to see those divisions one by one, like what are the types of organisms that are present in each of the divisions. So all these things we are going to discuss now. So the first is Thalophyta. So Thalophyta means all the algae are coming under the Thalophyta. So algae means you can find green patches of algae in waters or some wet places. So there you can see the green algae. These algae come under the Thalophyta. So they are aquatic and sometimes may be marine. So they may sometimes survive in sea water or sometimes they may be present in the fresh water also. So the examples of Thalophyta is red, brown and green algae. So not only green, there are other colors of algae. They are red and brown. So all the red, brown and green algae come under the Thalophyta. Next is Bryophyta. So Bryophyta means all the liverworts and mosses are coming under the Bryophyta, and these Bryophytes, they are usually found in moist, very wet and shady and cold places. In such places only the Bryophytes can be found. So in the coming slides I will show you the picture of liverworts and mosses and what they are. Next is Pteridophyta. So in Pteridophyta, they are vascular cryptograms. So vascular means they have xylem and phloem. Cryptograms means reproduction will be done with the help of spores only. Only asexual reproduction will happen. So such type of organisms are called as cryptograms. And in Pteridophyta, you cannot find any flowers or seeds because there is no sexual reproduction taking place. Only asexual reproduction takes place through spores. So that is why no seeds and flowers are there. Next is Gymnosperms. So all the seed having plants are coming under the Gymnosperms. And in Angiosperms, they produce flowers and fruits. So such organisms are called as Angiosperms. So these are the 5 divisions of kingdom Plantae. The first division of the plant kingdom is Thalophyta. So Thalophyta means all the algae are included under Thalophyta. Organisms like Chlamydomonas and volvox are coming under the Thalophyta division. So these are some of the algal organisms that comes under the Thalophyta. So Chlamydomonas and volvox are the example. I have shown you the pictures of both the organisms. The plants in this group are commonly called as algae. So they are most primitive. They are in the oldest form and very simple plants. The anatomy of the plant is very simple. They do not possess vascular system. So vascular system means xylem and phloem is not present in this thalophytic animals. Plants. And next is plant body is not differentiated into stem, roots and leaves. So like the normal plant, it is not divided into stem, root and leaves. The whole plant body remains undivided mass of cells called thallus. So it is like a whole of plant body. So it is not being differentiated into roots or leaves or flowers. They are a undivided mass of substance. That mass is called as thallus and so called as Thalophyta. So since they are together as an undivided mass, the mass is called as thallus. So that's why they are put under the division Thalophyta. And most of the algae are aquatic. Some may be in fresh water and some may be in marine water also. Some are also terrestrial, that is they live on the land, but they will survive only in very moist conditions. So in those places only algae will grow. They exhibit autotrophic mode of nutrition. So autotrophic means they produce their own food. That is, they produce their own food. And algal cells possess photosynthetic green pigment called chlorophyll, which helps them to synthesize their own food by the process of photosynthesis. Thus, algae are phototrophs. So they have one green pigment called chlorophyll, and that only helps in the process of photosynthesis. So they are called as photoautotrophs. Photo means sunlight. With the help of the sunlight, they produce their own food. So they are called as photoautotrophs. The cell wall is made up of cellulose. The cell wall of the algae is made up of cellulose, and the reserve food after getting the nutrition, the elements are stored as starch. The reserve food in the form of starch. Some algae also have some additional pigments, that is colors. So other than chlorophyll, there are other additional accessory pigments such as red, brown and yellow. And accordingly, they have been classified into different groups such as green algae, red algae and brown algae. So other than green color, there are also other colors present like red, brown and yellow. So based on these colors also, these algae has been separated. And some of the algae like chlamydomonas, they are unicellular. That is, they are very small microorganisms and they only have one cell, which some are colonial. So some will be as a group. They will be multicellular. Whereas chlamydomonas like organisms are only unicellular. They will be present to as groups. Volvox will be present to as groups, colonial. And filamentous unbranched. So some are not branched like Spirogyra, Eulanthrix, and some have very large thallus. That is, they have very large mass of undivided cells like sargassum. So there are some differences in algae itself, but some features are similar. So they are all put under the Thalophyta. And algae are the sources of 50% of total organic matter on the earth. Chlorella and spirulina, they are also the unicellular algae and they are very rich in proteins. Sometimes they are also used as food. These space travelers, all the astronauts use these chlorella and spirulina as food materials also. And the three types of algae and their examples are given. One is green algae, so Spirogyra, Eulanthrix, Volvox, Chlamydomonas. So these are some of the green pigmented algae. And brown algae is Fucus and Sargassum. They will be brown in color. And finally, red algae is Geladium and Gracilaria. These are some of the examples of the different algae and their different pigments. Here is the structure of Spirogyra, that is the green algae. So the cell wall is there, a mucilage is present, and after that a cell membrane is present, nucleus, vacuole, cytoplasm, all these things are present, and these algae will be in green color. Next is, these are the pictures of brown algae. On the left side you can see the sargassum, and on the right side you can see fucus. So these are the images of sargassum and fucus. So these both are an example of brown algae. Next is red algae, example Gracilaria and Gelidium. So these are the two examples for the red algae. So I have given you the pictures, you can take a look of it. Now I'm going to explain the importance of algae, why these algae are important. So the algae, it is being a very simple green plant but are very useful for the human welfare. And the useful activities of the algae is used as food and algae is used as fodder. So algae is used as food. So algae form an important source of food, fishes, aquatic animal and other mammals including man. So it is used as a food for fishes, aquatic animals and also sometimes man. Chlorella is the favorite food and it is very rich in protein content, and spirulina also, it is very rich in protein content. And algae as a fodder. So many seaweeds, that is the plants that are present in the sea. So these seaweeds are also used as fodder for the sheep, goats, cattle and poultry. For feeding the sheep, goats, cattle and poultry, sometimes algae are used. The other uses of algae is also used in industries. For example, we can take agar agar. So this agar agar, it is an algae, and when they are put in hot water, they will be soluble, it will dissolve. But then when they are placed in a normal temperature, the room temperature, it gets solidified. So this is the nature of agar agar. So this agar agar is used as a culture medium in some of the researches and experiments for growing any bacteria or fungi or any microorganism. This agar agar, it is used as a nutrition medium for feeding those microorganisms, and this is prepared by the red algae like Geladium and Gracilaria. So you have already seen the pictures of these both. So from these red algae only this agar agar is produced, and algae is also used in agriculture. In agriculture, algae is used for nitrogen fixation, for taking up the nitrogen from the atmosphere and giving to the plant. This algae is useful. And for soil reclamation, when the fertility of the soil is lost, so to regain it, this algae can be used. And algae is also used as fertilizers and manures. And algae is also used in sewage disposal, that is disposing the waste products. The photosynthetic activity of this algae, they produce oxygen which is used by the bacteria for sewage decomposition. So the oxygen that is produced from photosynthesis process, it is taken up by the bacteria, and by that this sewage is being disposed. So here indirectly the algae is helping to clean the sewage. Here are some of the pictures of the various algae. So first is Eulanthrix, Spirogyra, and near that the kelps are present. These are some of the algae, the green algae, and after that for the brown algae, Macrotistis, Fucus, Aliria, Sargassum. These are some of the examples for brown algae. And Porphyra, Laminaria, Sargassum. These are also some brown algae. And Carogene, algin. So carogene is the red algae and algin is the brown algae. Chlorella, spirulina, they are the green algae, and Gelidium and Gracilaria are the red algae. So here are the various types of algae you can see in one picture. Some of the useful activities of the algae. It is used as biofuel, it is used as agar in bioresearch, it is used as fertilizers and to produce vitamins also. This algae is produced. They are used for pigments and for the pollution control also algae is being used. Next is we are going to see about what are the harmful effects of algae. So toxicity, many algae they produce toxins which cause death to the aquatic animals and damage. So some algae they grow on the walls of some historic buildings and monuments and they spoil them. So this you would have seen in some old buildings. You can see the patches of algae. So when they do like that, the wall is getting damaged. And the other effects are the algal growth in ponds, pools, and lakes. It causes loss of aesthetic and fishing values. So what happens? The algae, it is formed as a bed all over the water body. So what happens? The organisms, the fish and all the aquatic animals that are present inside the water will die due to suffocation because they do not get any oxygen. So in such cases, what happens? They die. So we cannot do fishing on places where the algae is being formed. And many algae, they change the taste and color of the water and they give a very bad odor, a very bad smell, foul odor they give. The next division that we are going to see is Bryophytes. So Bryophytes means all the liverworts and mosses, that is plants that live in very moist and shady places are called as Bryophytes. So these bryophytes are called as amphibians of plant kingdom because they live both in water and land area. That is, they need the moist content for the growth, but they grow in the land. So they are called as the amphibians of the plant kingdom. And on the right side, you can see the bryophyte image. So usually all the bryophyte will be like a thallus. It is similar to the algae, and underneath they will have small hair-like structures. The root has called as rhizoids. Bryophytes. So these bryophytes, they are the first terrestrial land growing plant which is having an autotrophic mode of nutrition. That is, they can produce their own food. These bryophytes, they are very small and they are many-celled, multicellular green plants, and they mostly grow in very shady and wet, moist places. And some bryophytes, they have a flat green thalloid body. So they have a flat green thalloid body, while other like moss have a body which is differentiated into stem, leaves and rhizoids. So rhizoids are the root-like structures. So bryophytes, in the before image I have shown you an image. So sometimes it may look like that also, or sometimes it may be differentiated into leaves, roots and stem. So in moss and all, it is differentiated. Whereas if you see liverworts and hornworts, these are the types of bryophytes. Here and all, it is a flat thalloid structure and small root hairs are present. And proper roots and flowers are absent in bryophytes. These bryophytes, they are non-vascular plants. That is, they do not have xylem and phloem for the transport of elements. So the examples of bryophytes under mosses, funaria and sphagnum. So these are the two examples for bryophytes, and liverworts example Markensia. Here are the images of the moss, and you can see on the left side funaria, and on the right side you can see the sphagnum. So like I already told you, in funaria you can see the stem is there, leaves are there, root is there. It is differentiated into different parts, but whereas in some cases it is not like that. The next example is liverworts. So example Markensia. So like I have already shown you the picture of Bryophyte. This Markensia, it has a flat thalloid body, and below they have small root hairs called rhizoids. Now I'm going to explain about the mosses. So these mosses, they are the terrestrial bryophytes. So they'll grow in the land. They grow in very damp, very wet places in land. And they grow very close together and form a velvet mat-like substratum. And they play an important role in soil conservation by holding the soil particles together. So they form nearby, and it forms as a mat, and this helps to hold up the soil for soil conservation. So the last category of the bryophytes is liverworts. So these liverworts, they grow in very moist and shady places and on the bark of the tree. The tree trunk, on those places these liverworts grow, and also on the deep down woods. So the plant body of this liverwort, it is thalloid. It is a flat green body, and the thallus is dorsiventral. That is, the dorsal surface and the ventral surface, they will be different, and they are very closely attached to the substratum, the soil. And the leafy members, that is the leaves that are present, they are small leaves. They are also attached to the ground in two rows on the stem like structures. So small stem like structures are there over that, and on over the stem small leaves are present. So like this only the liverworts are present. Here you can find the images of moss and liverworts. So these moss you can see in beaches and all over the rocks. They would have formed some green layers. Liverworts, you can see it on the right side. Some leaf-like structures on over it. Some small cup-like structures are there. So this is the liverworts. So in this video we have seen about what is plant kingdom and what are the two divisions of plant kingdom. So till bryophytes I will stop. On the next class we will see the remaining. A PDF will be sent in your WhatsApp group. So write all the answers including the detailed answers on your notebook without any spelling mistake, and submit it on the given date. Thank you, children.